welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, Annabeth Chase sympathizer and longtime Percy Jackson fan.
And I'm Julie, Rachel Elizabeth Dare, #1 super fan.
And this is a podcast where Julie finally gets to learn what's in the golden sarcophagus because she's reading Battle of the Labyrinth for the first time. And since we have 2 wild chapters, we had to bring in some excellent guests. So we have Phoebe and Emily from the podcast Monster Donut.
Hello.
Hello, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Emily, you've joined us before, but Phoebe, this is your first time. So would you like to tell us a little bit about your demigod debut or like how you got into Percy Jackson?
Yeah. I read the books for the first time in like 2006 because my sister had been assigned The Lightning Thief for summer reading, and she absolutely hated it and was tearing the book apart. Like every page, she would rip it to the next one when she finished it. Like that book is in pieces now. She was so upset that she was being made to read it. And so at some point over the summer, I was like, what is this book? What is this book that's torturing her so? And so I picked it up, and I vividly remember reading that first chapter of The Lightning Thief sitting on my cousin's bed in California. And I ended up reading the entire book in one sitting that morning because I had woken up at like 4 a.m. California time. And I loved it. And I sat down with my sister, basically made a little book club with her so she could make it through the book. And when she finished it, we immediately ran out to get Sea of Monsters, which had just come out. And so the rest is kind of history. I've been here for a while.
Man, you've been in it since the beginning.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Julie, did you feel that way about The Lightning Thief when you first read it? You wanted to tear it into pieces? Because I kind of thought that you might at some points.
No, it was just in the beginning, it was just so slow, it felt like. And I was just like, I'm reading a children's book. I'm 26 years old.
And
But here I am. This is the 5th book?
fourth.
Look at us. Who would have thought?
Look at this.
Who would have thought we'd make it this far? Not me.
I know. I can't believe I'm looking forward to reading the next one too. I'm like, unbelievable.
All part of my master plan.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty good.
They are pretty good. I'll admit it.
And I'm keeping that little audio clip forever.
Yeah, throw it back in my face sometimes.
It's going to be my new ringtone for you.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had 2 guests before, so I'm like, I don't know how to introduce 2 people. Emily, you've already told us about your demigod debut a couple episodes ago, so new question for you. Do you have a favorite character?
What a question, Mallory. My favorite, my all-time fave, you have not met yet.
Oh.
She's next series, but think of the characters we've met so far, I'm feeling Thalia. Like, I'm really feeling Titan's Curse at the moment. I was gonna say Bianca, but it seems like a silly, like, she doesn't get that much screen time, you know? Like, and maybe it's because I'm spending more time with my family right now, and I'm spending time with my brothers, where I'm like, yeah, Bianca.
Nothing like spending time with the siblings to make you really feel for Bianca.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I'm getting really excited to see Thalia in the show, so I'm like thinking about her more, and she's just great.
Yeah, Thalia's excellent. Phoebe, do you have a favorite character?
Well, it's Percy. Not to be obvious and basic. It's just
Phoebe is one of the only people I know where like almost every book she reads, her favorite's the main character, and it's very strange.
That's great. I mean, that means, I don't know, they're doing something right with the writing, I guess. Julie, do you have a favorite character at this point?
Rachel. I love Rachel.
I mean, she's great.
Redhead solidarity.
Right, yeah. And then mine, I don't know if you could tell from the everything about me, but Annabeth, for sure. Okay, fantastic. Are we ready for 2 of the wildest chapters I think that this book has to offer?
Yes.
What a banger of a book, man. It's so good.
It's so good. All right, so we've got chapter 16, I Open a Coffin. And this one even like starts out with a bang, because where we left off, we had just jumped out the window of Daedalus's workshop wearing the bronze wings. And Percy is like immediately trying to pull an Icarus because he's kind of falling to his death. And like, not to quote Toy Story, but it feels very, this isn't flying, it's falling with style kind of vibes happening. And so, Percy's kind of falling to his death until Annabeth yells at him to extend his arms. And I just love the idea that he's so used to being bossed around by her that even panicking and like fearing for his life, he just kind of knows automatically to listen to her. Like, she's right. She knows what's up.
Yeah, she's the general.
And, General Annabeth says we have to land. So we land because, she knows her myths. And so when they land, they end up throwing the wings in the trash. And it's so devastating to me. He says they can't fix them and they can't leave them for the mortals to find. But every time that they have a cool thing and then they either destroy the cool thing or lose the cool thing, it drives me crazy.
I'm like, at least grab a feather. They're loose. They're loose already.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we couldn't have even taken part of a wing, like, back to camp and let the Hephaestus cabin, like, have at it. Like, we could have made more wings.
It would have been a lot to, like, carry that around through the rest of this book.
We, like, hear their backpacks clinking around. It's like, what is it? Oh, a bunch of feathers.
Imagine just the events of the next 2 chapters,
Yeah.
but they're still wearing the wings.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I'm a fan. I've always been fascinated by the fact that Rick was like, yeah, they're made of bronze, the most aerodynamic material.
Yeah, feels right.
I don't know. I feel like it's almost a bit at this point where like every cool thing, every cool like piece of technology in Percy Jackson's made of bronze. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you're just like, in the myth, the reason why the wax melted wasn't the adhesive, it was made of wax and feathers. Because it's light. Anyway, these are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah,
But it's fine. It looks cooler.
it does.
They look more like automatons.
So after they've landed, they like look back up at the hill and looks like the workshop has moved, and they wonder if maybe Daedalus died. But Nico says he's not dead because he gets this feeling when people die, like a buzzing, and it's a cool power, but it's also not very useful to us at this point because he cannot tell us if Grover and Tyson are alive since they don't have mortal souls.
Mm.
And I have a lot of thoughts about what happens when monsters die, because according to the lore of the book, when monsters die, they go to Tartarus and they regenerate and they eventually come back. So, like, if Tyson were to die, he would eventually come back, I guess, in theory. But also, Tyson is said to be a baby Cyclops, so I feel like that suggests that monsters are reproducing when they're out in the mortal world. So, like, is the monster population just constantly increasing? Like, do new generations of demigods have to face more monsters than the generations before them because you've got, like, new monsters and then also the old ones coming back?
This is a great point.
These are the things that keep me up at night.
Yeah. This is something I feel like what makes a monster is asked by this book series many times, but I feel like even the world building asks this question a lot. Like, it's not in a way that's a plot hole. It's like in a way where you actually are like, wait a minute. I mean, demigods are still being created and they're not quite mortal. And like Cyclops are the children of a god and a nymph. So and the satyrs are too. So like, yes, like it's like we're still creating new mythological beings in this world.
One is dying constantly and one of them lives for forever.
Yeah, because the demigods don't come back.
So the current generation of demigods does have it worse than anyone before them.
Yes.
I think is the answer.
And I think that's why Percy has to kind of repeat the quests of like Theseus and Hercules and Perseus, and like he has to do everyone's work because there's so many more monsters.
Yeah, you have to collect all the badges, for
The
your
Pokemon
to make it to the next level in camp.
to beat the champion at the end.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, Percy really is the Ash Ketchum, of his world.
Yes.
To beat all the gyms.
Make friends with all the silly little slightly aquatic and horse-like creatures. Anyway, so our mission now at this point is kind of get back to camp before Luke does. Rachel suggests that they fly, and then we have to explain the whole Zeus won't let Percy fly thing. And I mean, I know the whole flying thing is like a plot device to make our quests more meandery and less like straightforward, but it's so petty that Zeus will not let him fly. Like, I do not think that Poseidon would have the same problem if, like, Thalia got on a boat. Zeus's decisions just confuse me when you've got these children who are fighting for their lives on your side and you're treating them like garbage.
Seems very petty to me. Which I respect as someone who is also petty. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, how often are you beefing with like 14-year-olds though, Julie?
I don't really hang out with 14-year-olds, but if I was a teacher, I might beef with them. Like, I'd probably be like, what is the matter with you? My op at work is like a 50-year-old woman.
Please tell us more about your 50-year-old work nemesis.
She is a pain in my ass. She doesn't like me, and her husband cheated on her with a student at the college where I work at. Twice. They reconciled, and then he did it again.
Oh my
And so
God.
they finally got divorced. And so she's having a midlife crisis. She bought like a Vespa scooter and was riding it around campus over the summer.
All right.
She's just always up in my business. And I'm like, I didn't sleep with your husband. Leave me alone. I swear.
I'm so glad I asked.
I was definitely my orchestra teacher in elementary school was definitely beefing with me. She hated me. And I know why. It's because I didn't practice. But there was no reason for her to be that mad. It wasn't like I was the only one who wasn't practicing.
I was gonna say, is it because you were bad?
I was definitely bad. And I played viola, which probably made it worse. Because, a poorly played viola is really just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I would be pretty mad at a kid if they made me listen to like really bad music all the time.
Elementary school orchestra. Like, I'm not the only one. There's like a bunch of kids in there, and most of them are not practicing. But I just remember like going up to her at one point and I was like so excited because I was like, oh my God, like I finally played this whole page in the book. And I just remember her turning to me. And keep in mind, I'm in third grade at this point, okay? Turns to a third grader, a grown woman, and says, that's because they're all scales, Emily.
Oh my God.
No.
And I was just like, why? And it was like years later, I was like, oh, she hated me.
I love that as a child you didn't even realize that. You like,
Yeah.
did you have any inkling that this woman did not like you?
I know it was because there were other musical groups that I liked. Like I really enjoyed playing the recorder, and I was in the like recorder ensemble that you theoretically had to audition for, but I don't think enough people wanted to do it that they actually cut people. But she like always put me on recorder too. There was one piece where it was like 64 bars of rest, and then you play a little bit, and then that's it for that part. And I was just like, I'm actually good at recorder. Years later, I was like, oh, she hated me. That's why.
Not that you were bad at the recorder.
Was good at the recorder. I was bad at the viola. I will allow that. I was good at the recorder.
I don't even know what to do with that.
I mean, I would believe that I was also pretty annoying, but still, I can't have been the most annoying.
Surely there's been a more annoying third grader at some point.
I mean, Phoebe didn't know me in thord grade, but you know the people we went to school with. Surely there was someone more.
What were we talking about? Oh, Zeus was beefing with Percy and wouldn't let him fly. All right, so we have to take the labyrinth back. Long story short. And Percy says that it's the fastest way back to New York. And so I did look up some things just because I was curious. Because I looked up like flights from Colorado Springs to New York City just because I was curious how long it would take. And fun fact, I could not find a single nonstop flight. So with stops, I couldn't find anything under 6.5 hours. And so then when you account for getting through security and all that, and then having to get from the airport to like deep Long Island to get back to camp, crazy as it sounds, walking from Colorado is probably actually faster. But not if you walk over the surface, because I did look that up too. And according to Google Maps, it would be a 28-day walk covering almost 1,900 miles and like 47,000 feet of elevation gain. So
log in on Strava.
That Strava post would go so hard. I think I said that the last time I looked up some ridiculous walk, but it's still true.
I feel like in today's day and age, also multiple flights, I feel like at this point is more dangerous than the labyrinth. So you might as well just do it. Just go, stay on the ground.
Then we kind of split up to get our like last minute things done. And Annabeth and Nico head off to the gift shop so that she can send an Iris message and Nico can get a snack. And Rachel and Percy head off to the parking lot so Rachel can secure them a ride. And so she just like walks up to the chauffeur of a fancy Lexus and gets him to ditch his client and take her instead. And I really love that Percy is just absolutely baffled why this guy would drop everything to help her. Like, he has never been in contact with someone that would work for, I guess, in his life. So he's like, I don't, what?
Like, what would the equivalent be? Like, would she have to be like Bill Gates's daughter or something? Like, is that what we're thinking? Like, I'm trying to think of like a modern equivalent. Like, who would that work for?
I don't know.
Just like a lot of money and power. I mean, I feel like if you're in that line of work, though, you're probably pretty familiar because, like, there's only so many clients, you know? Like, you're probably pretty familiar with who the VIPs are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like none of us are the kinds of people who would know very much about the like chartered Lexus business.
I'll just call this all broke boys. So
Well, I'm just like, we're all normal, regular people.
Yes.
Imagine I was like, actually.
No, these people do exist though. I was just at a really fancy event in New York and I was talking to somebody and I realized midway through the conversation, so you're talking about like flying and going on vacation places, realized that this man had never flown commercial. And that was very like I've never in my life been more gobsmacked, but like had to keep it cool and just been like, what was he talking? Oh, like it was a very disorienting realization that that can happen for somebody. So I was just sitting there like, how much money in your lifetime has been spent on flights?
Probably more money than I will ever see in my life has been spent on this man's flights, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it's enough to radicalize you.
yeah.
And why is it always, just thinking of Rachel, why is it always the cool artsy friend who ends up being a Nepo baby?
The older you get, the more you realize the like starving artist thing is not real. It's made up. Most of the people that like proclaim how like like because I feel like there's like a whole stereotype of like, oh my God, to be a starving artist with nothing, you make such good art. And I feel like that's like a myth perpetuated by people pretending to be poor, like who are doing that lifestyle. When like the reality is no, having enough food, shelter, and security to like actually be at peace enough to create art is the best way to make art.
Yeah, this feels right. Okay, so we're kind of in our mysteriously procured car because Percy still doesn't know how she managed to do this. And we're looking for a labyrinth entrance. And I just have to point out that Percy says that he is, quote, very aware of Rachel's shoulder pressing against mine. And I feel like about half the time in this book, Percy's brain looks like that one scene from Inside Out where Riley like bumps into the boy, and inside his brain there's just the alarm that's like, girl, girl, girl. Like that's Percy.
Yeah.
So then we end up spotting the labyrinth entrance at the Western Museum of Mining and Industry. And I did look up this museum because I was interested in it. And it's a real place and it looks kind of cool. They've got lots of like machinery and tools used for mining. They offer gold panning. But my personal favorite part that I discovered is they have a thing called the Fluorescent Mineral Room, which they describe as a 360-degree visual treat of glowing minerals.
That is indeed a visual treat.
Why do I feel like I really need to go to the Fluorescent Mineral Room?
That sounds awesome. I love cool rocks.
Should we go? Should we start looking up flights? And Cool Rocks was one of those things that, like, as a kid, I became obsessed with and started collecting. My first collection was just Cool Rocks.
Did you have a geology phase? I had a geology phase.
A little bit. Not the research kind, more the go into every gift shop you see and stare at the display of cool, colorful rocks.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that too. The polished, semi-precious, yeah.
Yes, the little shiny rocks that they let you put in a little like drawstring bag, those.
Yeah.
Since I'm home, hold on. Let me get my rock collection. It's relevant, I promise.
Yes.
When I was studying abroad, every new Greek island I went to, I picked up some rock. So these red and black ones,
That's so cool.
are from Santorini. These ones are from, where are these from? I think these are from Cape Sunium. Around all the sea glasses from around Cape Sunium, which is a temple to Poseidon. These shiny white ones are from Naxos. And I got some seashells in there that I think I just collected.
That's such a cool like little souvenir to bring back.
It wasn't an empty like Greek honey jar, but it smashed in transit, unfortunately. So I had to transfer them to a regular jar.
Oh no.
It's a good souvenir idea. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Because Greece has some really cool rocks.
My mom's been doing like anytime the family goes to like a beach or something, she'll get like a little bit of sand.
Then you have to go out of your way to find cool colored sand, you know? And there's one of my favorite underrated places I've been was this, it's in the name. It's called Coral Pink Sand Dune State Park in Utah. Got there right at sunset. Woo!
Ooh.
Gotta go.
I'm looking at Julie's face right now. She's like, I'm going.
Booking a flight now.
I'm planning a trip at some point to go visit the filming locations for High School Musical.
That's incredible. Gotta hit up what the high school and the
I need to go to the resort from High School Musical 2. Yeah.
And then if you do that, you need to recreate the entirety of I Want It All, the music video.
Bet on it is the
Bet
one I
on
would
it. Yeah,
need.
yeah.
yes.
That one too.
And I would need a friend to do Gotta Go My Own Way on the iconic bridge, of course.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, of course.
I Don't Dance.
Yeah, I don't know if that baseball field is at
Yeah.
the same place, but
I feel like you could just go to any baseball field and do I Don't Dance.
we have so many trips to go on now.
Yeah.
We have to go to the Fluorescent Mineral Room. We have to go see the pink sand dunes.
Colorado to Utah is not bad. You can drive it.
Let's do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Summer road trip.
We
Okay. All right. We've been going for like
haven't even opened a coffin yet.
we're not even to the interesting part yet.
Yeah, you have to stop me when we go on tangents. But this was relevant.
And I can't wait for listeners to listen to you explain all your products.
My rocks. Can you hear them? My ASMR rock ASMR.
Okay, so we make it to our labyrinth entrance, which is part of an old mine, and we once again head back into the labyrinth. And Rachel and Annabeth start making small talk about architecture as they walk, which is a win for the Annabeth Rachel besties agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And Percy kind of awkwardly thanks Nico for coming back for them. And they talk about like him wanting to exchange Daedalus's soul for Bianca's, and how hard it's been for him only having the dead for company, and how he doesn't fit in anywhere, and like poor Nico. I mean, I feel like that's a feeling that we've all felt in our teen or preteen years, like no one likes me and I'm all alone and I don't belong anywhere, you know?
Yeah. And he's like, what, 10 right now? 11?
Definitely no older than 11. He's like a fifth grader at this point.
He's 2 years older than me when my teacher had a one city
My God. Then we make it to kind of our big thing, because we make it to a crossroads and they start smelling the eucalyptus trees like they did last winter. Also, side note, thinking about it, like if you're trying to get from Colorado to New York, going from Colorado to California is in the opposite direction of like where we need to be going. But anyway.
Well, Phoebe has a whole theory on the labyrinth.
Oh, interesting.
Because Annabeth says from the jump, she's like, who knows where we'll end up? There's no way to control it. Like you could be anywhere. They end up in Mycenae in Greece at one point in a scene in this book, which they don't say, but the description I can tell. Because I think Rick Googled Greek tomb and he described the tomb, but there's not that many Bronze Age Greek tombs. So the description, I was like, I know where they are.
Oh, interesting.
They end up in Greece at one point in this book. That happens. But anyway.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. I mean, I am willing to entertain the idea that distance is not linear and you just kind of end up where you end up. So there's like something powerful down this tunnel. And there's also the smell of death, according to Nico. And so Percy decides that he needs to go check this out alone because it's too dangerous. And also a little bit because if Luke is up there, he doesn't trust Annabeth since she's been manipulated too many times. And Annabeth gives him her hat and tells him to be careful. And he looks at the hat and thinks about how last time they split up like this, he got a kiss, and this time he just gets the hat. You hate to see it.
No, the hat's a pretty, like, that's important.
It's a pretty big gesture. But also, I think maybe she should have just, like, planted one on him again. Mark her territory a bit, you know, really show Rachel.
I maintain Rachel is at least bi.
Oh, she's so queer-coded.
I was just tempted to look up how many Annabeth Rachel pairings there are in AO3. Because now I'm curious.
I'll look that up right now.
I would read that 100%.
Shout out to the shippers. That's a good ship. I'll allow it.
I feel like where we should be looking is fanfiction.net since that was what was popular at the time.
Oh, fanfiction.net.
Does that still exist?
I think that it does.
Oh God.
Okay, there are 70 on AO3, 70 Rachel Annabeth fanfics.
Really?
Not enough.
No, we need to be writing more Rachel Annabeth fanfics.
Julie, that's your assignment after this book's over. You don't have to write a book report. You have to write an Annabeth / Rachel Williams fanfic.
I cannot.
Honestly, you know what? I'm a genius, actually. If I were a teacher, that would be my assignment to decide to see if my kids had read the book.
You have to write a fanfiction.
Doesn't have to be romantic, but just has to be a fanfic of some kind doing something.
I have definitely been assigned to do this. I was an English major. This was literally an assignment in my old English class, was to write fan fiction about one of the stories that we had read in my old English books that we'd read.
That's incredible. Okay, so I think the problem with fanfiction.net, because now I'm trying to look on there. There's not really like tags. It's like you
Yeah.
don't really tag relationships.
You can look up pairings though.
Can you?
Yeah.
Fanfiction.net? Oh wait, hold on. Oh, you can. Oh, you can. Hold on.
I don't remember how this website works.
I haven't used fanfiction.net in at least a
That used to be my go-to. I was not AO3. I was originally a fanfiction.net girl.
no fanfiction.net. Like, AO3 is like after my time.
There's only 2? That can't be right.
The Percabeth, I guess, is too strong. I don't know.
I'm doing something wrong. For sure.
There should be more. Is what I'm hearing. Is what I'm learning.
There should be more. I think I just don't know how to work fanfiction.net, actually. But if anyone knows of any good Annabeth Rachel fanfics, let us know. We will read them.
Which is real. I want like My Immortal, but for
Oh,
Annabeth and Rachel.
God.
The things that could have been.
Okay. So what happens on the mountain? I've completely lost. We've lost the plot.
We sent Eucalyptus on the wind, and Percy's like,
Yes.
haha, evil. Evil is here.
So, kind of like the last time we were on a mountain in this book, since Percy brought that up, the first monster we see here is some Telkeens. Emily, am I saying that right? That's how I've been saying it.
Yeah, it's like, I'd say Telkines. I think technically it's, he didn't spell it the way you'd usually spell it if it was a certain, the transliteration of the Greek's a little, hold on, you can keep talking. I'll look up what it's supposed to be in Greek. I can't read Greek in English letters.
I love getting a Greek lesson.
It's what I thought it was. Okay.
Well, what is it? Share with the class.
Okay, so if you want to say in the ancient Greek actual pronunciation is Telchines, but I would just say Telkines because who needs to do all that?
The Telkines.
Telkines. The accent's on the second syllable.
All right, so
Telkines.
the Telkines somehow have managed to salvage the blade that they were making. And woohoo, guess who's here to help them present it? It's Ethan Nakamura, who ran off on his own like a chapter ago. I realized that was like a chapter ago. He runs off in like chapter 15. The way that everything is described here just feels very foreboding with the mist and the dark marble fortress. It's like a mausoleum, and it's got very strong, like, creepy nighttime vibes. I've always pictured this happening at night, but I don't think it ever actually says that it's night, but it feels like night.
I've always pictured it during the day.
Really?
I'm realizing just now.
It says the Pacific Ocean spread out below, gray under a cloudy sky.
Yeah, and that's the thing that made me think, okay, is it not night? Because it feels like he wouldn't be able to see the ocean below this mountain if it was night, because it would be too dark, right? So then I was like, wait, is it not night? I've always pictured night.
I think you need to be able to see. So overcast feels, yeah.
Misty. Yeah.
So we're just like out here
Yeah.
having this big evil reveal in the daytime.
It's like 2 p.m.
In the cloudy weather. It's raining.
Yeah, but it should be creepy night vibe.
Right. It should be 2 a.m.
I mean, Ethan Nakamura has an eye patch. We can't forget that.
Right. He brings the creepy nighttime vibes just with the eye patch.
He brings the supervillain energy.
He absolutely does. And, the other thing bringing the huge supervillain energy is our first glimpse of this blade they've been talking about. Our huge scythe made of steel and celestial bronze. Which, where have we seen another blade like that? Interesting. So there's no one really around. There's not guards. And since he's invisible, Percy's like, I have to go into this fortress because this could be my last chance to stop Kronos from rising. And pretty quickly, we find our golden sarcophagus. And I love that when Percy's setting the scene, he's like, the room is silent. There's no guards. Luke isn't here. This is all too easy. Are we sure about that, buddy?
The writing of this whole part is such a masterclass. It's so good. The way this is written.
Like, I find myself, like, I've read this so many times, but I still find myself feeling the suspense. Like, I know what's about to happen, but I'm still like, oh my God, we're about to open this coffin. I don't know, just the sense of dread that I was still getting even after reading it like a bajillion times should be studied. So Percy, pushes the lid off and he starts describing what he sees. He's like mortal legs in gray pants, a white t-shirt, a hole in the middle of his chest. And then he starts getting to the identifying things, blonde hair, a scar on the left side of his face, because, dun dun dun, the body in the coffin is Luke's. And Julie, I need your reaction to this development.
I was not expecting that. 100%. I was like, oh shit. Okay. And I was like, wait, is he actually dead? Because they say like his heart is missing, right?
I mean, there's definitely a hole there.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to believe his heart is missing.
Could be.
But yeah, I didn't like that at all.
Julie, what are your thoughts on Luke so far? I have to ask.
I think he's a little whiny bitch. I gotta be honest.
He is also in his like early 20s beefing with children.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the daddy issues, I'm like, grow up. I don't know. So over it.
This moment gagged me so like I was absolutely gagged the first time I read it as a kid. Like,
oh yeah.
When I would think about the Percy Jackson series after finishing the books, like before rereading them and getting back into it, I would think about like the opening chapter of The Lightning Thief and then like this one scene. Like those are like the two scenes I remembered the most vividly from reading the whole series.
Yeah. I don't remember very much from my first time reading it. I remember kind of rereading it in high school a little more vividly, but I don't remember from like my first time reading it in middle school. But I remember reading this and I remember being so shook because I just did not see this coming. And like when you read it back, it's so well set up. There's so much foreshadowing to this, but you just miss it because you don't even know that this is an option that could happen. So there's really no way to predict that this is where this is going.
Especially because he blinds you with all the we're building a body stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's a mechanical body in there, I'm sure.
One of my roommates, like when the show was coming out, asked me, was like, oh, do we know like who the actor who's going to be playing Kronos is yet? And I was like, yes, his name is Charlie Bushnell. We do know.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Rereading this scene while thinking about like how it's gonna look in the TV show was something.
When I'm 30 and season 4 is coming out, and that's being generous, I'll probably be older. This is going to change me as a person. I know it.
It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited.
Also, okay, I kind of think that this would make a really excellent end of the chapter, like for the drama of it all, because whenever I read like middle grades and children's books, I always think of like a teacher doing a read aloud to a class or like a parent reading to their kid at bedtime and like stopping at cliffhangers because that's always what my teachers would do. And I just think ending it like the body in the coffin was Luke's and then being like, oh, that's all the time we have. It's time to go out for recess and just like torturing children with cliffhangers. Like it builds character. But also, I guess, I mean, you don't even have to end the chapter there. You can just stop reading and make it your own cliffhanger.
We do get a nice little enter, despite the subsequent thing that happens being immediately after.
Yeah.
It's a moment to absorb.
Actually, you know what? Maybe there is a time skip. Maybe there is. Maybe that's what its book is telling us, that Percy is standing there in shock for way longer than we think.
That's the space that you hold for the lyrics of Defying Gravity, I think, actually.
That's a good one, Phoebe.
Exactly.
Thank you.
That's really good.
Will that joke still be funny in 2 weeks when this episode comes out?
No.
Yes. Absolutely. It will never get old. It's not being overused at all.
So one thing that happened here, I ended up, while preparing for this episode, like on a tangent with the graphic novels, because I Googled something. I don't even know what I Googled, but I ended up on the Raritan Wiki and read something about a character like being written out of the last Olympian graphic novel. So of course I was like, okay, now I have to read this graphic novel to see that it's true. And it is. And I was kind of baffled how different the last Olympian graphic novel felt from like the book. I don't know if you've read it at all, but
No. And I'm dying to know.
they change a lot of stuff.
I'm so afraid you're gonna say Ethan.
Yeah, that is what I was gonna say. And also, Paul Blowfish does not make an appearance in the graphic novels.
Wow. Rick Riordan self-insert erasure.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so I have to look at the Battle of the Labyrinth graphic novel because that's like the one we're working on. And I felt like the Battle of the Labyrinth graphic novel was a whole lot more similar up until they got to the volcano scene and Annabeth didn't kiss Percy. And then he didn't even speak to Calypso on her island. Like he still goes there, but he wakes up right into the conversation with Hephaestus and like Hephaestus telling him the answer to navigating the labyrinth. And then they like look at Calypso's back and he's like, I feel like if I talk to her, I'm never gonna leave. And then he just leaves.
What's going on?
I was so confused. But okay, the biggest thing that really threw me for a loop is I was like reading this graphic novel and they go straight from like they go into the mine and they go straight to chapter 17. Like they find Grover and Tyson immediately. And I was like, are we just skipping this whole coffin scene? That's wild to me. But turns out it's the last scene of the book.
Oh, they turned into a dramatic cliffhanger.
They just completely skip it. And then they continue the book mostly as written. And then it's the very last scene of the book. But there's like no one around. Percy's not there. Annabeth's not there. Ethan's not even there. It's like just I forgot the pronunciation of the dog monster guys.
It's
It's the Telkines and Luke. That's it. They're just like presenting him the blade.
That's lame.
And that's the end of the graphic novel.
You need the Percy running away moment and the
Yeah, I don't know. I just need someone else to know that because I learned that we should not be focused so much on the movie being an inaccurate adaptation and focus on the real enemy, which is the graphic novels,
wild.
because they're nuts. I've now read all of them because I was just so horrified by what I was reading and they're so different. And I don't understand it. I mean, I know graphic novels are a different way of telling a story than a written book, but I don't know, just some of the changes.
Yeah, I think
That's fascinating. Maybe we need to review them, Phoebe.
yeah.
I think you might need to. And if you do, can I please come?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so anyway, that's why it took me like 10 hours to prepare for this because I read like 3 entire graphic novels because I just like
That's wild.
kept being horrified by what was happening. Anyway, so we've opened up the coffin and Percy says he should have stabbed Luke right then, but he's too stunned and confused. The Telkines and Ethan come in and they present the scythe, but realize that Kronos needs Ethan to pledge his service to him before he can fully rise. Percy, of course, blows his cover here by yelling, "Ethan, don't!" And Ethan is so fascinating as a character because he says this whole like, I'm a child of Nemesis, goddess of revenge. This is what I was made to do. Like, I renounce the gods, I'll see them destroyed. Like, it feels like he's renouncing the gods, but also like playing into exactly the role that he thinks he should have because of who his godly parent is. Like, he's still like he's doing this because of the god. It's just interesting. It's interesting.
Ethan also shook me when I was a kid because it really subverts this trope of like the hero of the story does an act of mercy and it like changes, the character that is given mercy. And this Ethan just being like, double down. Nope. Like, I just remember as a kid just being like, Ethan.
Yeah. Like you almost expect him to join the team
Yeah.
after Percy spares him, and then he turns around and
He's just such an interesting character, like from the jump. Also, like seeing a kid with an eye patch, because you don't really see a lot of kids that have like, besides Luke, no one else really has like any kind of physical like injury or scar or like anything like that like is from their life as a half-blood. So just seeing somebody like absolutely shook me as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my answer. Ethan Nakamura is my favorite character, actually.
Well, don't read the graphic novels because he's like not in them.
How could they?
Percy doesn't even fight him in the arena, I don't think, unless I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure he just goes straight to fighting like Antaeus.
Lame. So lame. I think Ethan Nakamura
Yeah.
and that arena scene is one of the best
Yeah.
scenes in the book series.
Like, there's a guy in the background sometimes who's like got an eye patch on, but I don't think he's ever named in the graphic novel.
Are you telling me that the Sea of Monsters movie had more Ethan Nakamura representation?
Oh no.
It sounds like it. It sounds like the Sea of Monsters movie is good, guys.
He's in the Sea of Monsters movie? I gotta rewatch that. Julie, when are you coming into town? We gotta watch the Sea of Monsters movie.
You're not ready.
Oh God.
That one's worse than the first one. I just want you to know that.
I don't think that's possible.
Somehow.
Oh, just you wait.
Oh, God.
Anyway, okay, so Ethan has pledged his
Yeah.
loyalty to Kronos. And kind of with this pledge, we have Luke, who is not really Luke anymore, sitting up, and his eyes are now gold. He looks at Percy and is like, this body has been well prepared, don't you think so, Percy Jackson? Like, what's Percy supposed to do with that? Then you also have Kronos telling Percy that Luke feared him, and his jealousy and hatred were powerful tools to keep him obedient. And it just feels like such a red flag that this 22-year-old man was so jealous of this 14-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
you're an adult. Get a job. I don't.
Get away from her.
Percy is like, though, he's like everything Luke wanted to be, though, right?
Yeah.
It's more complicated. Like he's a mirror that Luke looks in and sees what he's not.
I mean, they're foils. They're foils. But it is kind of a bummer that one of them is like an adult and the other is a 14-year-old because it makes the dynamic kind of weird.
Yeah, but I feel like I think a lot of people do tend to experience that, but usually like when they're older, like when they're going through like a midlife crisis, they look at someone in their 20s and be like, oh man, like you're what I wanted to be when I was your age. So I don't know. It is a kid's book. They have to be kids.
That's true.
But
Yeah. No, you're right.
I think it makes sense to me because it's just so much about like the parents and the relationships too, where it's just like, yeah, like it's not about Percy, it's about the God's relationship to Percy and like his relationship to his own parents. He's like the little brother that got everything when he got nothing type dynamic to me.
Yeah, that feels like a good way to look at it. But I mean, still, even if he's your little brother, it's a little bit like, okay, still you're an adult. And
I'm not gonna lie, like reading these books when I was a kid, I frequently forgot that Luke was supposed to be in his 20s. I was like, Luke's a year or two older.
yeah, I was like, Luke's like 16. And would it have changed a ton had Luke been like 16? I don't know.
Still a little bitch.
He probably would have been worse.
Well,
Like 16-year-old boys, have you met them? They're pretty, they're,
anyway, oh, the next thing I wanted to point out is that it says that Ethan like collapses in terror and the Telkines are trembling, but Percy somehow has enough nerve to like actually attack Kronos.
Not at first though.
Great work,
Not
Percy.
at first. He's definitely affected.
Yeah, not at first, but he like gets there. And his sword deflects right off of him and it doesn't really do anything. But it's still impressive that he's brave enough to attack this guy who's like so terrifying even to the people on his side.
But you know who doesn't need any time and who does do some damage?
Rachel.
Iconic.
My girl.
It's kind of like Chekhov's hairbrush a little bit because when they like leave on the labyrinth quest, it's kind of a silly little detail to be like, oh, she tucks her blue hairbrush into her pocket. Like, why did you need to tell us that? That's a random detail. But this is why you need to tell us that because yeah, Kronos like has Percy in like a time spell thing and Percy's like trying to run, but he's moving in slow motion and Rachel throws this hairbrush in the clutch move of the century and it distracts him long enough that Percy is able to get away. And once again, I'm saying, imagine what she could do with a real weapon. We should give her a weapon.
I think all women.
Give her a
yeah.
gun.
Give her a gun.
Give it to her.
Give her one of the fancy guns like Annabeth's dad has that has the celestial bronze bullets.
Yep. Or like those mercenaries in Titan's Curse. They got guns.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but do those guns just kill? Because it's never specified what kind of bullets they have in their guns.
No, but
Are they just regular bullets?
I don't know. Give her a gun.
Interesting. I think we should give all women guns.
Mhm.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, then we're kind of running for our lives back into the maze. Kronos yells after them, in a typical villain move, but Nico summons like this huge jagged piece of rock out of the ground and brings down part of the building, and We make it back into the maze mostly unharmed. And so that's kind of all of the events of chapter 16. Any other comments?
No notes. Perfect chapter.
Big fan of Kronos saying that backbiter will indeed bite back. So stupid.
Yes. One of the first things he does when he comes back is make a stupid pun.
Make like one of the worst jokes in the book. I have so many questions about this scene from Luke's perspective. Like, I want to know what he was thinking lying down in that coffin. Did he lie down in the coffin? How does a ritual like this even start? Like,
I have some questions about the ritual as well, because we've had this coffin for a long time, and we've been apparently reassembling Kronos like piece by piece in this
yeah.
coffin. But we've seen Luke recently as like a chapter ago. So what was in this coffin before Luke got in there?
I've always just imagined it as like a Kronos soup, a soul soup that's in there.
I was thinking kind of a Kronos mist, but misty spirit pieces. I don't.
Yeah, because it makes more sense for him to be pieces.
Either is horrible. Now I'm thinking about Kronos soup.
Oh.
I feel like it's like a Davy Jones situation where it's like Luke's heart's in there.
Well, because I also think back to the dream that Percy has in the Sea of Monsters, where Thalia like opens up the coffin and looks at it and goes like, "No, it can't be." What did Thalia see in the coffin? Because I can't imagine that this was Kronos's plan A. Like, I feel like Kronos,
No.
this was not the ideal situation. Like, I don't think there's any part of him who like wanted to take over Luke's body. So then what was she seeing in the coffin at that point?
I feel like it still was Luke.
Because that's just so good.
I feel like she was seeing into the future somehow. She was seeing
Yeah.
fate.
Well, Percy was seeing Thalia see the future.
Percy was
in
seeing
his
Thalia
dream.
seeing it. I don't think Thalia actually saw it, even though I kind of think that the Thalia in the dreams is Thalia. Don't worry about it. But I do think that this is at least like plan C, based on at least Luke in the Titan's Curse saying that if Thalia doesn't join him, he'll use the
Right,
other
yeah.
way. Like Kronos will use the other way if you don't. And I assume this is the other way.
Yeah.
And Luke doesn't want that. Or didn't want that. Who knows what he wanted in the end?
The series from Luke's perspective is like having a bunch of contingency plans to not do this, and Percy Jackson single-handedly taking a wrecking ball to all of them.
No wonder he's afraid of him. He's tearing down all of the exits.
Like, Percy is going to turn me into Kronos, and I don't want
Yeah.
that. What a book.
Kid Emily, this was her favorite chapter, chapter 16. But adult Emily, 17's her favorite.
And let's get into chapter 17. And that is The Lost God Speaks. And this one's pretty short because there's kind of just one major event. But first we're sort of running for our lives in no particular direction, just sort of away until we can't run anymore. And Percy says that Annabeth has been crying the entire time that they've been running, which is honestly a very impressive feat of athleticism to me because like been there, girl. But every time I cry on a run, which like happens more than you would think, given that running is something that I do willingly and by choice. But like anytime I get above like 8 miles, it's like a 50-50 chance that I'm going to cry at some point. But I always have to like stop and kind of rally. I call it my little like cry and rally. Because once you get the like crying, hyperventilating going, it gets like impossible to run. And I'm not even moving at like running for your life speeds because I'm pretty slow. So for her to be like sobbing this entire time, moving at running for your life speeds, this is athleticism. And I feel like she deserves some credit for that. She's very powerful and we should remember that. Anyway, Nico kind of sums everything up well by saying, well, that sucked. Because it did. And we have to explain what happened with Luke to Annabeth. And Percy's not very nice about it. He just keeps insisting like Luke is gone. Even when Annabeth tries to bring up how when he got hit with the hairbrush, he became kind of Luke again for a moment, it seemed. It's not even really a good argument because Annabeth just ends up putting her head down and sobbing again, and Percy says he wants to comfort her, but he doesn't know how because he's also really rattled by what happened and also because he's 14 and doesn't know how to talk to girls. And just it's a mess.
I guess I'll go talk to Rachel. I'm sure she'll love that.
It's just constantly making the wrong choice.
He's kind of the worst in the scene.
I know, he's like, he has absolutely no empathy for Annabeth at all here.
He's jealous.
Yeah, he for sure is.
The dumb boy.
I mean, same way that Annabeth is jealous, but the difference is Annabeth mostly doesn't take out her jealousy on Percy. She takes it out on
Rachel.
Rachel. Not a great start to this chapter. And then we immediately find like Grover's hat crumpled on the ground. And they decide that they have to go and find Grover and Tyson, even though we have very limited time to get back to camp, and this will be our second detour on the way. We make it down the tunnel. We find Grover collapsed in Tyson's lap. And Tyson says so many things have happened, including Grover saying that they're close and then collapsing. And Percy remembers how he also had passed out in New Mexico when he felt the presence of Pan last winter. And so this must be it. And it makes me laugh a little bit that they wake Grover up and immediately like have to introduce them to Rachel. Like, it's just like, hey, here's this girl that we picked up. It also kills me that Tyson tells Rachel that she's pretty, and it makes Annabeth so mad, even though like her reaction to Tyson telling her that she was pretty was literally gross when they first met.
You know, she's got some growth to do. She had growth with Tyson already. You know, now she's like, hey, not all my friends.
Now she has to do some growth with Rachel. Anytime Percy tries to introduce someone new to the group, Annabeth is not about it.
Except for the time that Thalia was part of the group and Percy was not about it.
They just kind of hate each other's friends. Annabeth kind of theorizes that they might be in Carlsbad Caverns because that's in New Mexico, and it would explain, you know, what happened last book, and they can feel the power emanating from the next room. And I personally love that Percy describes the feeling as being in a plant like time-lapse video because that just feels like a very like I can feel that feeling even though I've never been a plant in a time-lapse video. And so they then step into the most gorgeous cave, a yassified cave, as I'm sure our friend Laura would describe it.
Also, do you notice the glittering rocks, the glowing and glittering crystals and rocks?
This is the fluorescent mineral room.
It comes full circle.
We didn't even know that the museum that they went in was foreshadowing the room that Pan was going to be in. And this is also our second like beautiful crystal cave of this book. We've got crystals, we've got plants, we've got extinct animals, and we've got also a bed with an old satyr on it who turns out to be Pan. This whole thing is just, it's heartbreaking and terrible, and I never actually want to reread this because it just makes me very sad. But he says he's waited a long time for Grover, and Grover says he got lost. And Pan says this is one of the last wild places because his realm above is pretty much gone. Grover begs him to come back with him and save the wild. Pan just kind of ruffles his hair and says Grover's young, so good and true, and he thinks he chose well. Because this is the end for him. And Grover, of course, you know, can't accept this. And Pan says he needs Grover to carry on his message. He needs to go back to the council and the nature spirits and tell them that they have to stop waiting for him to come and save them. They have to make their salvation themselves. I think this is the final example of this pattern that we've kind of seen in this book of like meeting our heroes and being let down. Like we first had Tyson with Briares, and like Tyson really looked up to him as this powerful, like 100-handed one. But in reality, like he ended up being this scared guy who couldn't save himself, much less like anyone else. And Annabeth kind of idolized Daedalus as this genius, and she was so sure that like he was going to solve their problems. He was going to give them this string, only to meet him and learn that he'd already helped Luke. They also, you know, had already found the better solution for themselves. Also, I think you could make an argument that she's also been let down by another idol in Luke, even though, you know, she's not willing to accept that yet. And, you know, he's been letting her down since the first book. This, I think, is perhaps the most devastating example because we know how long Grover has wanted this and how hard he's worked. And we finally find Pan just have to face this reality that he's not going to come save the wild. And I think this is an important lesson for them to learn, as hard as it is, leading into this big, like, confrontation that they're about to have. Like, they have to stop waiting for a hero to come along and save them. And just like Pan says, we have to make our own salvation and we have to figure things out on our own.
I don't get choked up at books easily or movies. This scene, when I reread it like last year, it was getting me. I was just like so like emotional reading it. It's so powerful. And I think that's why this one has to kind of come last, because this is what this book is about. This is the heart of this book. And like this is the last thing we need to hear before we go into like the battle and then like the final confrontation in the next book, you know? Like this is sort of the lowest point in the hero journey. This is the nadir. And it's just really beautiful. And I think Pan is just the true representation of like the idealized, really ancient world in this series. Like he's got a lot of really interesting history for being like a very ancient indigenous god, possibly to Greece itself. Unlike the Greek gods we think of are not actually probably indigenous to Greece. Some of them are, but like the big ones aren't. And so kind of him being like that last bastion of this idealized time, like letting go and being like, no, stop looking back to me, look forward. Like you can't rely on me coming back to fix everything. It's really powerful. And I think especially like coming right after, sort of Luke's mission, as it were, with Kronos is kind of complete. Not really, but like his at least role in things is complete. It's just like a really interesting juxtaposition where it's like you get the one scene where the guy that's been saying we got to go back this whole time has that happen, and then we get the next where we see the embodiment of what the ideal version of going back, saying no, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's what's stuck out to me. I think the last couple times that I've read this part is it's the seeing them back to back. Like it feels like a conversation about when something is dying or dead or when it's past. Like, do you cling to it or do you let it go and start looking at how to best to move forward? Feels like that major theme of these books, like encapsulated in 2 chapters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Julie, any thoughts on Pan where we talk about like the messages he gives to all of them?
Except Nico.
Except Nico.
It just made me really sad. I don't know. Also a little existential, I gotta be honest. Like I just couldn't help but like be like, yeah, the wild's disappearing. And then I started spiraling about climate change in the middle of work, and I was like, okay, I need to rein it in. Like it's getting too real right now.
I hate when the themes that we're presented with in fiction carry over into our real life.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to escape real life, please.
There's no escapism because art is political.
So true.
Yep.
So true.
One thing that does give me a little hope is there have been many points in history where everybody's been convinced the world was ending. So I'm just like, maybe this is one of those times. Maybe in 1,000 years, people will read our literature and be like, can't believe they thought the world was ending. That's wild. Yeah, I think it's also interesting because people really hold up like this idealized version of the past a lot of the time, especially the ancient classical world. That's sort of like always used as like I feel like there's this thing that a lot of people do when they talk about especially this part of history where they project their own like, oh, like, well, of course they were enlightened, like all the texts we have are philosophies and all of, and when it's like, well, yeah, because those were the only people who were literate is the real answer. Like only rich people in the upper classes were able to engage in art and able to create a lot of the art that we still have. And so the art was being made catering to them specifically. And, of course, you have a more idealized version of the past when it's like all of the art's catering to the people that don't have the regular common folks' concerns. But the point is, like, I think it's a really important message because especially looking at something that's so based in classics, like I think it can be easy to think about it like going off of sort of this particular way we talk about it in our society, this idealization, and like having this work acknowledge the fact that like, yeah, the thing we're based on, that thing that we're sort of expecting you to have as your base knowledge, you need to also re-examine that and rethink that. And like, why are you looking to the past for your heroes when like you can do better. Like they're not going to be able to help you. Like you have to help you.
You have to be the heroes. I mean, I think it's also an important message, like for kids reading this book, that you can't always just sit around thinking that someone else is going to save you. Like you have a voice, you can use it and you can make an impact. It feels like so much for a kid's book. Like I really appreciate that Rick Riordan was like, you know what? Kids can handle this. Kids can take this very complicated thing and appreciate it and learn from it. I don't know. I enjoy that this series kind of hits on these big, hard topics, you know?
Yeah. They can handle it.
So Pan,
Don't pander. Okay. Oh.
uh um so Pan leaves us each with like a little message. So to Percy, he says, when the time comes, he will not be ruled by fear. To Annabeth, he says she'll play a great role, but it might not be the one she imagined. He tells Tyson, you know, what I was saying earlier, that heroes rarely live up to their expectations, but that his name will live among the Cyclopses for generations. And I know that's not the plural of Cyclops, but Cyclopes, I hate it. And then he tells Rachel that she is just as important as her father, and none for Nico. But it's kind of rude. It's kind of rude to just overlook Nico.
Yeah, he doesn't need a calling, a mission. He's like, Nico, you know what you have to do. Like,
Going through enough. Like, why'd we have to do this to him too?
Like Pan had prepared this whole thing, and then this extra kid comes in, and he's like, "Oh crap, I didn't prepare anything for this one. Like we're just gonna skip it."
I actually don't know who this is.
you're not supposed to be here.
He gets nothing, and I know it's kind of like another like, oh, Nico doesn't belong kind of indication thing, but that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Pan literally says like it means all. All means all. Nico's included in all.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he just forgot his name.
Oh no. Honestly, it might just be that Pan has no idea who this kid is because he was not counting on this like extra.
I love how he knows Rachel Elizabeth Dare, but not.
I mean, I feel like he knows her father, and for that reason, knows Rachel. And then it gets to be a really big bummer. Not that it already wasn't, but he like once again turns to Grover and asks him to carry his message, and Grover says he can't, and Pan says he's the strongest and bravest and has believed more than anyone ever has, and that's why he has to like be the first to release him. And it just absolutely breaks my heart the way Grover goes, but I don't want to.
Hmm.
It's he's worked so hard for this.
Yeah.
Poor baby.
Ultimately, he does have to release Pan, and Pan tells them to go and remake the wild in their own little corners of the world, and like we can't wait for anyone else to do it. And Grover says, I spent my whole life looking for you. Now I release you. And just in terms of lines that really hurt me to reread, that is one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pan dissolves into these kind of like wisps of energy that goes into all of them, and all his cool endangered animals and the plants kind of go with him. And to kind of end the chapter, Percy asks Grover if he's okay and notes that he looks older and sadder. And Grover says, we should go now and tell them that the great god Pan is dead. This has just been one bad thing after another. Like we just had like realizing that Daedalus had already given the string to Luke, and then we saw the whole Kronos Luke thing, and then now we had Pan, and we still have to race back to camp for this invasion.
No recovery time. No time to digest all that.
That's why it's a good book.
Evil structure for a book.
Well, it's not just everything. It's just like the way it's stacked, the emotional payoff of it, like the craft of this book. It's just because of this way, this chapter is also catharsis. It's just like all of these things we've been building up to, we're finally like releasing them. And it's a sad release, but it is a release.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it like bittersweet. I find it just like so much of this chapter is just so beautiful to me. because I think it's that bittersweetness that makes it beautiful, because it's just like so true, but so hard and just like beautifully written, like that. Like, you love me the most, so you have to be the first to let me go. Like, what? Man, that's so good.
Like, why am I crying over this children's book right now?
Yeah.
And just thinking about it, like for Grover, I mean, is it better to live your life kind of with the hope that Pan is out there, that you're going to find him and never do? Or is it better to find him and have it end like this, like in kind of this devastating way? What a kid's book.
I think the only book Rick maybe goes harder in is Dark Prophecy, and the other one.
The other one.
The other one.
And Arian's gonna kill this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Arian's gonna slay.
Kid Emmy, instant Emmy.
He's gonna eat this up. Okay, anything else on chapter 17?
Just that it's good. This is why this is the stuff that gets adult Emily.
I think this is the stuff that also is getting adult Julie, because she admitted she liked it. You all heard it.
Battle of the Labyrinth's a banger of a book. It's just a banger.
This is why we podcast.
Right, exactly. But honestly, at this point, we've made 38 episodes, I want to say.
Oh my god.
So for Julie to still be doing this and not like it,
I would be a true hater. Honestly, that'd be kind of impressive. It would speak a lot to our friendship that I would be doing this for you. But luckily for you, I do like these books.
yeah.
What was your turning point? What was your first turning point?
It was probably toward the end of the first book, honestly, where I was like, okay, these are actually like.
So I feel like I remember when the last time I was here, you were like, I don't know if I'm gonna read the next one.
I think the first one that I really liked, like from start to finish, I think was Sea of Monsters. I really did like that one.
Wait, Julie, did you make predictions for all 3 of the last chapters?
Yes.
Next time, we are finishing Battle of the Labyrinth, which is crazy to say. So, let's hear your predictions for the last 3 chapters.
Okay, chapter 18, Grover causes a stampede. I just said the council doesn't take the news of Pan's death well. I kind of want them to go crazy. I think that would be funny. But with the next chapter, it says like the council gets cloven. Is that how you say that? Cloven?
I guess, yes.
So I don't think they're like I said, they're like divided on whether or not to believe Grover. I don't know, because they were all like Grover's gonna lose his searcher's license, and I'm like, do they think he's making it up because they don't want to believe he's dead? Or I just want Grover to be okay, really. That's all I want. And then chapter 20, my birthday party takes a dark turn. I don't really have a prediction. I don't like the sound of that. And also, I feel like there's so much to resolve in like the 30 pages that are left that I feel like they're gonna they're gonna end it on a cliffhanger or something. Like, you can't resolve all this stuff.
I don't know. Could be.
In 30 pages? I don't believe it. Only because I don't even know what the next book would be, because this feels like such a huge battle to resolve in 30 pages. And I'm like, what? It's existential. What are we doing for the next book?
I don't know. You'll find out at some point. All right, next time we'll be finishing Battle of the Labyrinth, chapters 18 through 20.
Let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. I'm excited for those chapters, less excited than I was for these chapters, but still excited.
Well, thanks for picking us for these ones. The cream of the crop,
Of course.
in my opinion.
I gasped when you asked. I was like, I open a coffin? You're joking.
Well, it's been in the back of my mind for a while. I was like, I need Battle of the Labyrinth experts for these chapters. And I was like, Monster Donut.
I'm not comfortable calling myself a classic scholar, but I am comfortable calling myself a Battle of the Labyrinth scholar. So,
and on that note, it might be time to go. Yes, thanks for being here. It was fun.
It was. Thank you.
thanks for having us.
Of course. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hi, thanks for listening. As always, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Threads at DemigodDebutPod. You can also find links to our socials as well as Monster Donuts in the episode description. And if you liked what you heard, please drop us a review wherever you're listening. See you next week to finish off Battle of the Labyrinth. Bye!